Alright y'all, welcome back to the channel and to some more rifle testing. And today we've got a new rifle that you guys haven't seen before. It's one that I've had for a good number of years now, but it's the first time we've tested it on the channel. And this is also some new ammunition that I've never fired through it. So I'm definitely looking forward to seeing how well this combination actually works. And is it good enough to be a classic deer camp rifle with this ammo or not? Deer season's coming up pretty quick here, so we gotta know if this combination's gonna work out for us or not. But as for that setup we've got here today, I brought out this guy. This is an older Marlin 336 chambered in 30-30, and up on top here it's got an old school Bushnell Sport View 3-9x32. I believe when I dated this rifle a while back, it was from 1981, 82, something like that. It's just before they added the crossbolt safety on these. This one does not have it. So definitely kind of an old school deer camp hunting rifle here. Definitely nothing new or nothing fancy about it, but it can get the job done for a 100-yard deer rifle. But what can it do with today's ammunition? That's going to be the big question. And as for that ammo we've got out here today, I picked up some of these. These are some PPU Rifle Line 30-30 rounds. They are 170 grain flat soft points, and there is no velocity claim on the box here, but if I'm remembering correctly, I'll put it up here on the screen as well, but I think it was 2260 or somewhere right in there, 2200s ish. I could be a little bit off on that, but again, it'll be right up here on the screen. But when I saw these on the shelf, they were like $5 or $6 cheaper than everything else there. So I was curious to see what they could actually do. Since they're kind of a cheaper import round, are they going to be any accurate? I don't know, but we're just going to have to try them and see. This old 336 here has not been very picky with ammo. It has tended to like the Super X 150 grain stuff. So I guess we'll see what these little bit heavier, cheaper rounds can actually do for us. But as for the test today, we're going to do it pretty well the same as we always do with these bigger rifle tests like this. I don't have a ton of these rounds. I've only got that one box, so I don't want to just waste the entire box. So we're going to shoot 3 groups that are going to be 3 shots each, all of which are going to be at 100 yards. And of course, we're going to run them through the chronograph as well to get our actual velocity out of my specific setup. It might not be the ultimate or the perfect test, but it definitely will give us an idea of if these are any good or not. So enough talking, let's head over here and get you guys a view of this 100-yard target and take a few groups here and just see what kind of accuracy and stuff we're able to get from these cheaper PPU rounds through this old 30-30. Okay, so let's take a look here at what we got as for our chronograph numbers real quick. Again, I think the box was around 2200 feet per second. I'll put the exact number up here on the screen so we can compare it, but let's go through our numbers here real quick. So for a high, we had 2154 feet per second. For a low, it was 2063. That gave us an average of 2096 feet per second. So definitely a little bit under their box claim, but chances are they probably tested it through a barrel that was an inch or two longer than mine. That would make sense for this velocity being our average here. But that gave us an extreme spread of 91 and a standard deviation of 28. So with that average of 2096, it might be just a touch slower than some other 30-30 rounds on the market, but these are 170 grainers, so that's not entirely out of the realm of possibility for these either. But not terrible overall. But what kind of accuracy did we actually get out of them? Let's head over to our target and measure our groups and see what it gave us. Okay, so let's take a look here at our groups and see what kind of accuracy we got. And right off the bat, it doesn't look like it's anything super impressive, but it definitely doesn't look too terrible either. Now, of course, all 3 of these groups were shot at 100 yards, so no change in distance. And this is not the round that this rifle zeroed with, which is why we are a little high on the paper. But let's go through and measure these groups and see what they gave us. We'll start off with the top left one up there, which was our first group, and move through them from there. Okay, so the first group gave us a 2.16-inch spread. Definitely nothing amazing. Is it good enough for deer camp? Yes, but I would like to see a little bit better out of it than that. So now let's hop over to that top right group and measure that and see what our second group gave us. Okay, so the second group gave us 1.93. That's definitely a little bit better and still obviously plenty good enough for a deer hunt, but I'd still like to see just a touch better personally, which I think we might have got out of our third and final group down there in the middle. And before I forget, I did let the rifle cool down between each of these groups, and we did start off with a clean bore. So that very well could be the reason why our third group here is the best of the day. By that point, we had gotten a little bit of heat into the barrel and a little bit of fouling, so this particular rifle might like having a few rounds run through it first. It's a possibility, but let's measure that group and see what it gave us. Okay, and that third group gave us 1.08. So definitely the best of the day, and right at an inch, that's pretty much what I like to see out of a lever rifle like this, with a pretty standard, not so amazingly aerodynamic flat soft point. I think that's pretty realistic. So I guess at the end of the day here, these don't seem to be terrible rounds as far as accuracy goes. They might be just a touch lower than the box velocity out of something like a Marlin, but it does seem like they're good enough for deer camp. Now, one more thing I will mention, I was not a huge fan of how they extracted out of my chamber. Could it just be these particular rounds with my rifle? Maybe, but they were definitely a little bit on the tight side to get out of there, and that is one of the smoothest lever rifles I've ever run. So that's at least something to keep a mental note of, if nothing else. So I'm saying for a cheap round, I think they did pretty decent, all things considered. Definitely nothing groundbreaking, but nothing atrocious either. Alright, y'all, well, what did you think about that performance there? I think it's pretty realistic, all things considered, for a cheaper import round. Anything that's 2 inches and under, I think is pretty okay, all things considered. I myself like to be at that inch or smaller group, which we did see a group right at an inch out of these, so it's definitely a possibility that this particular rifle likes a little bit of fouling in the barrel, since we did start with a clean bore. That's always a possibility, but with these being a cheaper import round, I do think there's a little bit of variability there where it might be a 50-50 shot or a 1 in 3 or a 1 in 4 chance of you getting a 1-inch group rather than a 2-inch group or something like that. So I definitely think there's a little bit of variance there with these cheaper loads. Either way, is that good enough for a deer hunt? Yeah, absolutely. Out to 100 yards, there's not going to be a whitetail that's going to be very happy. But as always, leave your thoughts in the comments. Is that about what you expected to see, or were you a little surprised one way or the other? Have you tested any of these PPU Rifle Line 30-30 rounds? And if so, what has been your results with them? Would you hunt with that kind of accuracy and performance? And is there maybe something else you might want to see us test with these rounds as well? Maybe a water jug penetration test or something like that, and see how they actually perform in some medium. Let me know all your thoughts down below. But with that being said, I've got some more testing it done for you guys, so I'm going to get back to it. As always, we've got the channel Instagram as well as the mailbox where you can send stuff if you'd like. All that information will be in the description if you're interested in it. But I'm going to get back to it, so I'll see y'all in the next one.